fans, and welcome to another edition of Inside the Borough, the podcast for and by Owl Nation. Today, I'm joined by just Shane, OC40. Say hello, Shane.
What's going on, guys?
So Dan is preoccupied in Colorado, so hope Dan's having a good time over there. So we're just going to get right into it this week, Shane. FAU just got off a 34-31 loss to Buffalo, a game that we all kind of expected to get a win after. The biggest hiccup you could say going into the game was the sudden change at the quarterback position. We were all expecting Daniel Parr, who was definitely improving game after game, to lead the team onto the field. And who's out there with Motor and McNeil and everyone else? It's Driscoll out of nowhere, like it's 2016 all over again. What's your 2 cents on that, Shane?
After thinking about it, I really wasn't that upset. We're on 26 months of this quarterback battle between these two players. Not one has ever separated themselves. Two coaching staffs. They went back and forth last year. A stat came out that during the Bethune-Cookman game, a game that we thought we played amazing in, which we did, and it was carried by our ground game, that Parr had only completed 4 passes that went beyond the line of scrimmage.
Mm-hmm.
Only 4 passes beyond the line of scrimmage. So all of his completions were swing passes, screens and stuff to our outside guys and to Singletary. So, something that's having a good week of practice in this quarterback battle, which is apparently what happened with Driscoll. He earned him the start. I think we just kind of know what to expect out of both these guys. I think in the end they're the same. It doesn't matter to me who comes out this week. The only thing I thought was maybe stick with Parr, because with all the new guys, you don't want to change something you don't have to, since he has been working with him. But I mean, if you look at their numbers, they're pretty much the same from game to game. Parr's had some big throws to McNeil, but other than that, our third down percentage is, Lane said, 23% right now. So anytime we don't get our offense going on the first couple of plays with long runs by our running backs, and we get into a 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, we might as well punt the ball.
You make up a great point. You bring one up with Parr kind of building chemistry with the players already. That's something that we've been talking about for several weeks now. That is something that Coach Kiffin has mentioned plenty of times about this team taking a while to gel together, mainly because of all the new additions this fall. Now you can throw in Cameron Solomon into the mix, coming back this week. I was pretty upset when I saw Driscoll in. He's a good kid, great guy. Seen him out and about a few times in Boca. But you're right. We had that chemistry going with those players, with Willie Wright, with McNeil, and so on. And you see Driscoll in, and it just opens up old wounds of the past 2 years. I just don't get it. I think after that first drive, after the interception, I would have pulled the plug.
What's so interesting is, despite this really average quarterback play, we're actually leading Conference USA in points per a game right now. A lot of those numbers are kind of wacky because of, some of the teams playing some of these money games and stuff. But I think we're actually leading the East, in points per game.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think if we could just get average passing, something a half a step above a game manager. But I see everyone go back and forth between Parr and Driscoll. And again, they've not separated from each other in 2 spring practices, a full fall season, two full camps. I don't think they're ever going to separate each other. I think with DeAndre getting the blood clot and kind of explained a lot. Everyone was talking about how they couldn't figure out. It seemed like he was regressing in fall camp. He's falling behind. He would practice for a couple of days and then not, then miss a practice. Something with his elbow. They're saying, I remember, I think Frank said that some of the velocity on his ball was coming off, and then that was kind of all answered with the blood clot. So it's something he could have had for a while that was affecting him, because I thought he looked pretty good in some of the spring practices I went to, and it just didn't look the same in the fall.
Yeah.
Hopefully he gets healthy. I really want to. I think there's a lot of good things about this team. We can get through with these two quarterbacks this year. But let's also remember we have a lead 11 kid who's sitting this year redshirting due to transfer rules.
Yeah.
Who I think once he gets the chance to play, I think the other quarterbacks, unless they step their game up, he's going to win the job.
Yeah. Someone on the Owls Nest mentioned that they expect Kiffin to go out and find his quarterback in this next recruiting class. And you or someone else said, I mean, he already got it from Robinson out of Oklahoma. That's going to be his kid for how long Lane will be here at FAU. It is a shame what happened to DeAndre. We hope him. We're hoping the best for him. I still think Parr's the guy. Driscoll might be a little bit better on the ground, but Parr, I just think he has a better arm when it comes to at least the longer throws. I mean, you remember the play to Motor when Motor kind of did a delayed swing route and really separated from his defender by 5 or 7 yards, wide open, and Driscoll almost hit a cheerleader in the head with the ball. He wasn't even close.
But
he could do better.
There's been errant throws on the other. There's been errant throws by Parr. I mean, going into halftime against Bethune-Cookman, that throw, that interception he threw was bad. He threw it.
That was awful.
He didn't see the safety. So,
yeah.
I mean, I see people on the board. They pick these, they're this guy or this guy. They get so behind Driscoll or Parr, and I'm like, these guys have been the same quarterbacks for 2 years. I mean, this isn't a new staff looking, but this is a new staff looking at it. The same staff last year couldn't figure it out. I mean, we were in the Rice game last year, and they gave Parr the start, and Driscoll came in and played well the rest of that game. And that was game 9, 10 of the year, and those two couldn't separate. So, what's the difference right now? I don't think there is. I think this will go back and forth this whole year. So, if you see Parr or Driscoll come out in this game, don't get angry, because I don't foresee one of them taking the job. Maybe one will take a job for a couple of games, and all the Parr people will be like, hey, yay, and then, going into Marshall Friday night, the other guy will run out, a few weeks later. So, who knows? I still think we're definitely good enough to win a lot of these games. Again, like I said, Conference USA especially the East, continues just to look awful. As many concerns as we have on our team, there is. Western Kentucky came down to the end to beat Ball State this week. I mean, this is a Western Kentucky that would have beat Ball State by 52 last year. They were in a game just like we were with them last year. They just came out at the end, unfortunately. Their guys have a lot of experience winning.
Charlotte might be the worst team in the nation. They got shut out at home by Georgia State the week before. They lost to FCS, North Carolina A&T.
I think he scored 13 points on Rice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think – and Marshall's defense looks good this year. Their offense is still struggling. So, I mean, North Texas was in a battle with UAB, who is first year back to Division I football. They're playing with a bunch of walk-ons and JUCOs. And so I look at all the issues we have, and I think we're just lucky enough this year we're in a pretty weak conference. And Buffalo, in the end, isn't a bad team. It's a team that, kind of going into it, I was looking at the scores. I'm like, wow, they played Minnesota really tough. And they blew someone else out and almost beat Army, which, how hard it is to play the triple option. And I believe that game was at West Point. So,
Yeah,
you know, and we scored more points on anyone than them this entire season, pretty much without a quarterback.
it's true. Yeah.
So, but in our fashion, you know, we left so many things if we just change one or two things on the field, and we'll get into the game now.
So before we go into middle, I want to talk about the absence of Buddy and Aziz. Buddy, what I think, how much we missed him. I think of that fourth down play towards the end of the game, which we talked about a little bit before we went on air. How we both agree with that call. We think it was a great call. We think punting it would be the worst call of the entire game. How Buddy, that's his bread and butter right there, man. That's what he does. He gets those really gritty, short yarded situations, and he gets them done. And then Aziz Al-Shaair, you can really see how much of a leader he is on the defensive side of the ball. So we missed them both. What's your take on those two guys?
I mean, Aziz is maybe one of the best defenders to come through this program, and I think we realized how much we missed him. I think Rashad played a really good game. Jose Barnwell made some mistakes. Remember, he's as much as he was talking about, he's a true freshman. There can't be just well. If you kind of remember how the flow of the game went, they scored on those first two drives, and then we went on our run. We scored we stopped them twice, scored our 2 touchdowns. I think they made it an in-game adjustment and realized Buffalo's quarterback was going to have trouble making, most intermediate passes. He really wasn't an accurate passer. They kind of loaded the box and stopped them. As bad as we think the defense was, we only gave up 3.6 yards a carry in this game. I mean, I'll take that the rest of the year. They made the adjustments. We get the ball back 14-14. We drive down and score. We get the holding penalty on the Motor Singletary touchdown that got 21-14. And I remember, the calls on Brandon Walton, and I remember they went to Lane and had it on his face when, the holding penalty. And Lane said, how the F do we get a holding call on the right when the run was left? So, it's just, Owl football, just doing something. I felt right there we were taking control of this game. We had stopped them 3 drives in a row, scored 3 drives in a row. I thought we kind of figured out, we can play this. They get the ball back, and right before halftime, they went on a drive. We got to remember that drive was extended by the non-call targeting, which they changed to late hit on Jose Barnwell. I've never seen that before. Them saying no targeting, but we're going to call late hit. So they extended it. It was they got 15 yards, drove. Their quarterback got hurt on that drive. We held them to a field goal. And which I think hurt us. I think we had made an in-game adjustment to that quarterback and stopping his running game. He was big. I think the rest of the game, they're going to be like, you're going to have to beat our DBs. And then Buffalo went to the backup quarterback, who we haven't seen, and they did it right before halftime, which is literally the best time you can make a quarterback change. Very similar to, if you remember Miami a few years ago, during the lightning delay, we took Quez out of the game and we put Driscoll in, and Driscoll came in and drove us down for a couple of touchdowns. They get a chance to go to the locker room, make adjustments with the quarterback they know and see every day. And the kid was a better passer, and he comes in and goes 7-9. It was really accurate on the short passing game at the quarter, which I think kind of threw us off. I truly believe, honestly, if their quarterback's in the game, we would have won. I thought we'd made the adjustments to that style of play. The offense started in the third quarter. They stopped the run, and we couldn't get bailed out by the passing game.
Yeah, I think if Aziz was in, we wouldn't need those adjustments in the first place. But it was good to see those adjustments being made. Disappointed with the defense in the second half. That quarterback was pretty good. He made his first 6 passes were all completions. It was just, get him in second and long or third down situations and kept converting over and over again while we can barely convert a third down to save our life.
Yeah.
So it's frustrating. It was a very typical FAU type game, where we just feel like you're one player away, and you feel like you have an advantage with the quarterback going down, and we end up shooting ourselves in the foot. It was the same old, same old.
Yeah, and then even at the end of that game, we have a chance, which you noted on, that fourth down call, which, again, I want to point out how genius that third down call is. Punting the ball in that situation would have ended the game. We never would have got the ball back.
Mm-hmm.
Lane, we looked at his defense, and at this point, they've been on the field for 35 minutes. Ran through the scenarios. You either get it, okay? We were down 3 points at that time in the game. You either get it, which we did. A lot of people thought that was a bad spot. If we stop them and they kick the field goal, it means nothing. We need a touchdown to win, okay? So a touchdown would still win the game for us. If they do score like they did, it gives them a chance to score quickly, us get the ball back and attempt the onside. If we punt the ball in that situation, they get 1, 2, 3 first downs, they sit on the clock, and everybody goes home, and we never touch the ball again. It's the old school football addict. It's like in baseball that always bothers me when the manager pulls the righty with ERA of 1 to face, and puts in the lefty to face the left-handed batter, even though the lefty has an ERA of 7. He's like, well, this is what the matchup says. This is what the book says. Punt the ball when you have 3 timeouts and you can get the ball back. But Lane said, we're probably not going to stop them right now. Our defense they're exhausted. They've been on the field for 40 minutes at this point. Let's just take our chances here.
Yeah, I agree. Now, I think anyone who thinks it was a good idea to punt in that situation, I'm not going to say you lack critical thinking skills. It's not the right thing to say, but you just got to think about where that game was going and then the amount of time and amount of fear that they could use to kill the clock.
Isn't this the same Buffalo that took the same team? Everyone remember that they had an 8-minute drive to ice the game when they were down here a few years ago?
I've actually tried I've tried to block that game out of my memory. It still causes me physical pain to this day. So.
And FIU iced a similar situation. That Charlie Partridge, old school football coach, punts the ball, and then how did that FIU game end? Us not getting the ball back.
Yeah.
And it almost worked. It came down to a third down play. You have man coverage. It was their best receiver. Our corner, who we think is going to the NFL this year, the quarterback made a perfect throw in the corner of the end zone. It was a great throw, great catch. But there's also an element to you want that's your best corner. That's a kid who's probably, Williams is probably going to play in the NFL. Make that play.
Yeah.
Get the ball out of his hand,
We had the matchup that we wanted, and we could. So.
There's just some times where, I kept thinking about how angry I was we lost this game, and I wanted to point the finger at something, and there was nothing I can really point the finger at. It's just we were in position and didn't take advantage of it. Owls football, right?
Yeah, there you go. I was putting the finger to a lot of people, coaches, defense. But really, I should just point the finger to myself for getting my hopes up. It's still just a very young team, and even though we have those matchups that work out for us that could go in our favor, we still need to learn how to win. And I know what you feel about like Charlie Partridge, but that was something that he actually had a good point on. It's always a young team to have to learn how to win. But now we have a coach that knows how to do that. So.
Yeah, and just the talk makes, I guess, fans feel a little better, when Lane comes out and says, well, this is embarrassing. As opposed to when, Charlie would kind of go, I thought we played well. We're only one play away. We're so close, guys. And Lane's like, this is embarrassing. We should have beat this team.
Yeah.
We're a better team.
Well, speaking of embarrassing, coming to Boca this Saturday is a team that FAU hasn't beaten for almost a decade. The Middle Tennessee State Blue Raiders from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Is that how you say it? Murfreesboro? I don't even know. It's just such a weird city outside of Nashville. I have a very strong disdain for that football program and that basketball.
Yeah,
They kill us at everything. And we haven't been able to beat them in 2 major tournaments in I don't know how long.
I think it's one of our more. I'm pumped for this. I think it's probably not so much for us, but if you look at this history of this series, it's probably FAU's funnest rivalry per se. A lot of the FAU FIU games, they're all blowouts. One way or the other, one team kind of thinks it's their year and they beat them. Other than last year, we'll talk about last year's game in a second. Every game's down to the wire. We know the Stoshek, celebrate going into the end zone. And then, the next week he's getting penalties against Old Dominion. Play, which, would have the year before that, we had a 13-point lead with, I think, just under 2 minutes and 45 seconds to go.
Yep.
And we blew that. The year before that, Lucky Whitehead caught a touchdown at the end of regulation to put in overtime. I don't remember if that game went into overtime or double overtime, but we lost that in overtime. So there's been like a lot of just fun games in this series. If you remember how the streak started, unfortunately, was a Hail Mary on a Tuesday night.
That's right.
By Middle Tennessee.
National.
That was the first game. Rusty Smith was the quarterback when this streak started.
Yeah.
So
it's painful, man. It's painful, especially with that Hail Mary being their first win in this stretch. And that's you ask most Middle fans, that's going to be one of the top 5 moments in their program's history.
The Middle Tennessee series is literally the microcosm of FAU football the last 10 years.
Bingo. That's right on the head. I feel like you're so close from getting it done, and it's just yanked out of your grasp at the last minute, whether it's because of just a miracle on the other end or we shoot ourselves in the foot. So there's a couple of major injuries for Middle Tennessee. There are 2 offensive stars. First off, quarterback Brent Stockstill, which is the son of their head coach, and their wide receiver Richie James, who is during this offseason was seen as one of the best wide receivers in the nation, if not number 5. So do you think that their injuries will give FAU a better chance to win?
Yes. Obviously. I do think their quarterback isn't as much of a drop-off as people think. They still put up 560 yards in that area against Bowling Green last week. Now, granted, Bowling Green is down there with Charlotte is one of its worst teams. I mean, they've lost to an FCS team.
Yeah.
Middle Tennessee turned the ball over a couple times last week, which prevented them from scoring more points. Not having Richie James is a much bigger loss. But this quarterback's experience, Urza, he started some games at the end of last year. Actually, initially started the game. We played them last year, and so he has some experience. And he's put up better numbers in 2 games than our quarterbacks so far this year. So, he's an experienced guy. They're not pulling a freshman's red shirt to play an emergency situation, which, hey, Middle Tennessee's proven in the past they didn't even need a quarterback to beat us. So, with Richie James just snapping the ball to himself, flag football style, and just taking off. But I would, obviously, there's still going to be a well-coached football team. Their defense is a lot better this year. If there's one thing Syracuse can do is that score. And they held Syracuse to under 29 points.
Yeah.
So they are going to load the box. They might put 11 men in the box and dare us to beat us in the passing game. That's what we should expect.
Yeah.
They are going to do everything in their power. If they take away Motor, we don't know how healthy Hal is. Lane is the most secretive person ever when it comes to injuries. So, we didn't even know Hal was hurt last week. Last we saw him, he was breaking big runs. Next thing you know, he's not playing in the game. So, they're going to sell out for the run, and they're going to make whoever starts for us beat them. And they might not score a ton of points, but their offense still has enough athletes and a couple good running backs where they're going to put some drives together and force us to beat them.
Their offense has been a bit shaky this year, which to me was a bit of a surprise. Middle was my favorite to win the East. I thought they would run away with it, actually. They started the year getting shut out at home to Vandy, which at first seemed a bit embarrassing towards Middle, and then a couple weeks ago looked like it was actually pretty impressive because Vandy looked like they were on fire, looked like they were world beaters, and then Alabama just curb stomped them, so it now makes Middle look bad again.
I don't really like to do the transitive property thing. I still think Vanderbilt's a good team. If you kind of follow it with Alabama didn't play that well against Colorado State. Colorado State had like 400 yards of total offense against them. And I guess Bama, that's an embarrassment for Alabama. And I guess they came in, it was team-only meeting type week. We're not playing well. We're not going to be a top team if we play this way. And it's kind of a statement game for them.
For sure.
I think Vandy was just kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time.
I mean, it was a home game for Vandy. You had CBS there. And then you had everyone and their mother saying Alabama could be on upset watch. So I definitely think that's something for sure. But to go back to Middle Tennessee, their game against Syracuse was impressive. I remember you and I talked a little bit about that. And then, their big win over Bowling Green. So they're sitting at 2-2 in Boca. We'll see. Man, I'm worried about that defense. I'm worried that they will load up the box, like you said.
We have to force turnovers, and that was the thing that was missing against Buffalo. We'd force 2 turnovers in every game up until this game, and turnovers have made the difference. In the end, we lost by 3 points, and we had 1 turnover on our first drive that they scored off of, and they didn't have 1 turnover. That's the difference in the game.
Yeah.
Middle Tennessee's going to get yards. They're designed. They run the spread. They have a lot of good athletes. They have an experienced coach, and their quarterback, who knows their backup, has played some games. They're going to get yards, and they're going to get first down versus us. We have to force turnovers. That's a Chris Kiffin designed defense. If you look at when him and Batoon were coaching at Ole Miss, in the games they beat Bama, Bama's got tons and tons of yards and tons of first down on them. But, you rip 1 or 2 balls away, you a strip sack here, an interception there, and that's 4 stops. So we're going to have to force 2 to 3 turnovers in this game. If we don't force 2 to 3 turnovers in this game, we won't win it.
See, that's good. I was going to ask for your keys to the game.
Turnovers is the key to every game. It's like a John Madden rule of football, but we're designed. There's some defenses that don't need it as much because they're going to be like, well, we can force you to punt a bunch of times. Wisconsin can go out there and they'll need to force turnovers. They say, we're going to make you punt 9 times today. And they'll do that against a ton of Big Ten teams. But that's kind of the design. And when you play spread teams, you kind of have to hope. So we gotta force them into turnovers.
Yeah. My key to the middle game is going to be just move the ball. We really need to improve our third down conversions. First and second down, we got to make it manageable. Got to get some good plays. I mean, I don't think that screens are going to be the answer, but I just don't know what else to go to because people are going to be attacking the box.
It's amazing. If you look at Buffalo, when we were moving the ball versus them, they didn't look like they didn't belong on the field with us. Lane said in a quote this week, we had 2 touchdowns where if we had flags, they wouldn't have stopped us. It just shows how much better our athletes are.
Yeah.
So once we get that running game going on the first couple of plays, our offense will be fine. But we're going to have to, and this isn't even, I'm not even expecting a big number, just be 35% on third downs.
Yeah. At least.
Which isn't even a good number.
No.
But that's probably 1 or 2 more in this game. That'll probably end up coming down to 7 points, which will probably make the difference in this game.
At least make those situations manageable. at the very least. And if Buddy is there, if Motor is there, we have at least options to go and get a new set of downs.
Well, and teams, and I think Buffalo did a little bit. They're keen on DeAndre McNeil. Mm-hmm. Another receiver is gonna have to step up. Yeah. And they've hit Willie Wright on a couple deep balls. He had the drop in this last game, which I even thought the ball was underthrown a little bit.
I agree.
They need someone else to be a possession receiver per se, someone they can just go to. This offense really isn't designed around a tight end, but I'd like to see Harrison Bryant involved way more. I think he's just starting to develop nicely. They found him open. He had a couple nice catches against Wisconsin. He seems to make a couple nice plays a game, and I'd love to see him more.
Yep.
Get involved. I think he's your second best receiver right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's been very reliable. He's been open multiple times this season, and he got his first touchdown of the season of this campaign against Buffalo. Was it Buffalo? Oh, Bethune-Cookman.
Bethune-Cookman. But he had a big catch against Wisconsin over the middle, beat a guy, and he got tackled down at the 1, which led to our second score.
That close.
So developing nicely. I would love to see him used in third down a little bit more. He's a big target, can maybe help with some of the accuracies. He's 6'4", 6'5".
Well, I mean, either him or Cameron Solomon could be perfect for that type of player that you're talking about.
Or rumor has it we could be getting somebody else back this week. So
there you go.
Be another help. Who knows how much that person could be involved. But we'll see.
For Owl Nation to keep your eyes on. And another edition of Middle Tennessee against Florida Atlantic.
He was dressed during the Bethune game. He was in pads dressed. Caleb Woods was dressed for that game. I saw him walking off the fields in his pads. So who knows? But maybe a 4-game suspension, playing for conference play.
Maybe that's what the punishment was. So with that, we're going to call it a night. We're going to
2 things. I pointed this out on the board today. One, all the 100 sections again. Let's make some noise on third downs, please. I sit above you guys, and I see you guys sometimes down there, and it's just sit. This team needs a lot of help this game, so let's do that. And also just get out there. This is a really big game. This season's definitely not lost. We've only lost 1 game we should have, and we have a real chance in this game to play in a close game with Middle Tennessee because of their injuries. So, a few thousand extra fans making noise might be a difference in this game.
If we are in a position to take a knee at the end of the game in victory formation, I kind of hope we just do a fake knee and a bomb, because I really just want to run up the score on Middle Tennessee. That's how much I do not like them. So
I do not like Sox though at all.
A little like a Willie Taggart type victory formation that he used to do, and he's been doing over at Oregon. So with that, from Shane and myself, we bid you all adieu. Thanks for watching. Check us out on SoundCloud and YouTube, and as always on the FAUowlsnest.com. So thanks for watching, and go Owls.
Thank you guys.